What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your licensed real estate market expert here in Charlotte. Today's the Q&A. It's February 1st. We do this every first Thursday of the month, so I'm very excited about it. And to be honest with you, I'm a little anxious. A couple hours ago, I was just browsing on the MLS, looking at houses, mainly for my clients, but also here and there looking for myself, and a house just popped up in a neighborhood that I love, and in a neighborhood I was literally there just 2 days ago. I literally drove past this same house that's hitting the market this weekend 2 days ago. And I'm a little bit too excited about it. It just came on the market as like a, coming soon, advertised as coming soon. So there's only a picture of the front of the house. There's no inside pictures, there's no nothing. All they have is the front of the house and kind of the floor plan, the measurements. So I don't know anything, and the owner has lived in this home for so long that I can't even like go back into like the home search website to take a look at what the house was like when they originally bought it some time ago. That's how long they've been living there. But already spoken to the lender. Like I mentioned with you guys previously, we've got pre-approved a while ago. And with pre-approvals, as long as nothing has changed as far as your income, as far as your like debt or anything like that, your pre-approval is good. The pre-approval usually says, hey, it's good for 90 days. But normally, as long as nothing changes, no major expenses, you didn't open up a bunch of new credit cards, you didn't buy a new car or take on a lot new debt or something like that, nothing changes. So already on the way to the office today, I called my lender and I just said, hey, I would just want to make sure that we're still good. So she's got to run some numbers, and we might have to upload some new documents and things like that tomorrow so we can take a look at it this weekend. But I'm already nervous. I think it's a potential for a multiple offer situation on this house, which I already have a number in mind on going over the asking price, because I'm a little bit too excited. Maybe I should, calm down a little bit, but I am excited about it, and I'm willing to go over asking. And that's going to kind of bring me to my next thing. I came out with that real estate market report. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It came out about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or so. And I was mentioning a little bit of the market, how it's been dull for, October, November, December, and part of January. It's been pretty dull. Right after that video came out, I went out that following weekday, Monday. I went out Monday and I believe Wednesday and Thursday looking at homes with clients. We looked at over 15 homes. Price range is 700 up to about 1.1 million. And like I said, we looked at 15 something, but last time I checked in my system, we had looked at 11, and I believe 8 of those houses were pending, and almost all the ones that went pending were houses that came on the market that Friday. So by Saturday, by Sunday, they already accepted offers. And this is in between that $7 to $1.1 million range, which is, it's kind of crazy. If you watch the market reports, I always say this, it doesn't matter what the market is doing. Nice homes in great neighborhoods that are move-in ready, that are updated, will sell no matter what. And a lot of these houses were, and some of them weren't. To be honest with you, there was one that's in Piper Glen, which is a very nice neighborhood. It's amazing. And you can kind of tell that it was a flip, because there's certain materials that you don't use in a house that's worth $1 million. You don't use, $1.50 per square foot flooring. You just don't really do that in certain neighborhoods. You don't do that in, $1 million houses. It doesn't make any sense. And even that house ended up went pending within 2 days, which is kind of crazy. But then again, we'll kind of see what happens, how things unfold. But based off the activity that I've seen in the last 2 weeks, things are really starting to ramp up. A lot more buyers out there. Also, coming soons are starting to ramp up in the last 2 weeks. I'm seeing a lot of that. This morning, I just logged on when I was looking. I did maybe like a quarter of Charlotte when you're looking inside the 485 loop, and there was I think there was like over 12 coming soon listings just this weekend, one of them being the house that I'm going to be looking at for myself. So I mean, things are ramping up. Springtime might come early, so we'll kind of see how it goes. But things are starting to move again, and I might be getting a little bit nervous. I don't think we're gonna go into an all-out crazy market like we were before, but things are ramping up, as I said. But I got 3 people on here, guys. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Any questions you have, let me know. The Federal Reserve actually just came out today, or yesterday, I'm sorry. And Federal Reserve holds interest rates steady as consumer confidence improves and inflation slows. So interest rates will not be going up right now. They're going to be holding steady. And right now, depending on a bunch of different factors, credit score, down payment, and things like that, the interest rates are looking around 6.5. You can find lower, you might be paying higher, like I said, depending on down payment, depending on your credit score. But so far, it's moving along the lines of what a lot of like chief economists and things like that have said. They said they think that the rates are going to hold relatively steady in Q1 and Q2 of 2024. And as we get to the tail end or the second half of the year, they're starting to expect then for the interest rates to start coming down. And some of them are even saying under 6%, maybe 5.75, but under 6% towards the end of the year. But again, I wouldn't put too much focus on that because it's something that we can't control. It's something that's completely out of our hands. It can go up, it could go down, but I'm seeing a lot of activity with things happening. But with that being said, any questions you guys have, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go ahead and hop into a couple questions I got. But yeah, I'm a little bit too excited about this house that I'm gonna be looking at, and I kind of don't like it because I already have like a going over asking price offer in my head, and I didn't think I would, but things happen, so I guess we'll see. Can't pronounce this name, but this was to my #1 community in Waxhaw video. What are the schools like? So top 3 reasons that I personally see that people move to Waxhaw is #1, no order. Schools, safety, family friendly. That is normally what I see when people come to me with those kind of parameters and they don't mind a potential drive time to uptown Charlotte or something like that. They really want that suburban lifestyle. They really want that suburban feel, that suburban environment. Waxhaw is one of the best. So as far as schools goes, depending on what website you look at, it's always different. It's always different on school websites what they put as far as the rankings goes. But as far as Waxhaw, I'll see anywhere from 7s to 10s as far as the school rankings. Different websites for some reason have different ratings, for the school. I always tell people the best way, and if one of the top 3 reasons you're moving to an area for is for the schools, at that point, it's a really good idea to call the school, call the principal, call the director, whatever the case is, get a tour of the school and get information directly from them. Because, if you Google a school or if you Google anything, you can have a pissed off parent or something like that just leave a bad review because of, XYZ, something that's unknown. So you want to see if you can get the school rankings based off of the actual accolades of the school and kind of where it puts up. But yeah, in Waxhaw, based off rankings, usually the schools are 7s, 8s, 9s, or 10s, but it's definitely one of the top 3 reasons that somebody would consider the Waxhaw area because of the schools based off my personal experience of the people that, I've helped move there and live there. My other last video, new construction, don't buy this. So I was going over the pros and cons of new construction versus a resale home. And Jeff left a comment here, said, great overview, Sasha. One thing commonly seen in new construction is cluster mailboxes. Some people hate them, some people like them. And I think he said that he hates them, but either way, yeah. So cluster mailboxes, that's actually, I believe it's like an actual law that was passed, and it was due to the post office. So a lot of these new construction communities, I don't know if it's necessarily a number, but for the most part, when it's like a master plan community, when it's a community that has maybe over 100 houses, you're going to see those cluster mailboxes like you do in apartment buildings and things like that. The reason that they have those is obviously just to kind of have less of a workload for the postal service. You know, as Charlotte's growing, as we're building so many more communities, as we're building so many more houses, you know, the postal service, you just can't keep up. You have neighborhoods popping up, hundreds and hundreds of new homes every single year. You have dozens of new communities popping up every single year. So the reason for the cluster mailboxes is because of the post office. You know, the good thing is Amazon packages and all that good stuff still gets delivered to your door. But yeah, new construction, you know, highly likely if it's a, you know, bigger community, you're going to have those cluster mailboxes, but your packages do get delivered, you know, to the front door, which I don't know about you, but I don't check my mail too often. It's always bills or something like that, so I'm not in a rush to see that stuff. So as long as my packages get there, I'm perfectly good. On my market report video, got a comment, number 7 is still good, just making the list is always good. So what this comment is referring to is Charlotte came in number 7 as far as the hottest housing markets in the US. And in 2022, we were the number 2 hottest housing market. In 2023, we were the number 1. So for 2024, Zillow's predicting we're going to be number 7. And I mean, I agree, 7 is not. It's not bad at all. As long as you're in the top 10, especially when you're talking about the entire US, it's definitely a good thing, but it's definitely a change from number 1 to number 2. So I'm curious to see, because they've been pretty spot on. You know, 22, 23, 21, and 2020 were super hot housing markets here in Charlotte. So the fact that we went down, you know, 7 or 6 spots to number 7, I'm curious to see how it's going to unfold. You know, prices are still holding steady, and there's activity happening in the market, you know. Here we go. We got another one here. On the market report video, another comment. I saw a house the other day that was bought in October 2020 for $645,000. No renovations, and then it was listed 2 months ago for $1.2 million. They lowered it down to $1,050,000 before removing the listing. Come on, that's not realistic. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. You're looking at double the price, you know, in just a little bit over 3 years, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, there is people out there that might be willing to pay for it, and it might be kind of a shot in the dark, you know. Christian McCaffrey, who used to play for the Panthers, that now plays for the 49ers, he bought his house, I believe, 2 or 3 years ago, and I can't remember if it was $6.5 million or $7.5 million in Lake Norman, and right now it's listed for $12.5 million. Actually, just saying it kind of sounds crazy. I just want to make sure I got that price right, because yeah, it's listed. Yeah, it's listed for 12.5. Man, I want to say, oh yeah, here we go. Okay, yeah, so 7.5. So in 2020, Christian McCaffrey bought the house on Lake Norman for $7.5 million, and right now it is listed for $12.5 million, which is crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, we're talking millions, and based off the condition, I looked at it when he bought it, the condition, it looks like nothing has really changed. So yeah, it's one of those things, you know, and I see, let me get comfortable here. I see a lot of people, I'm not going to say it's like a little bit of delusion, because the market's going to do what the market does. And if there's somebody, a house, a car, it doesn't matter what it is, it's only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it. So, you know, I don't want people to think that what's happened these last couple years is something that's going to be lasting for forever. You know what I mean? I recently spoke to somebody that bought a house just under 2 years ago, and right now they got an offer from somebody, an investor, where they can net $150,000 to $160,000 in less than 2 years, which it's absolutely crazy. There's people that have owned their house for 10, 15, 20 years and barely get to net $150,000. Everything is about timing. So, for you know what I mean? It's not always going to be this way. One day, the market's going to get back to normal. One day, it's going to be a lot heavier on the buyer side, maybe the complete opposite of what sellers had this past year. So really take that into consideration. There's a lot of optimism as far as, certain things happening, as far as, real estate's only going to go up. It's only going to go up. That's necessarily not true. We don't know what it's going to do because there's so many external factors that could take place that could change, anything happening. But again, real estate, just like anything else, it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. Any and all questions, guys, I welcome them, please. And if you happen to not be watching this, when I'm live, leave a question down in the comments. I'll respond to you down in the comments, or I'll answer your question on the next live. But you guys already know you can always call, text, or email me anytime. I'm always here to help you guys answer any questions that you might have. Q&A, Kalina Martinez. We hate HOAs because in reality, they don't do anything. We live in a community that we used to pay $450 per year in the last 2 years out of nowhere. Now we're paying $1,100 per year. We're looking to move out even though we love the community. We never use the pool and the parties are mainly for kids. That's one of the downfalls. I've said this a lot, that most of the communities we have here, especially the little bit of the newer homes, you're going to have HOAs. HOAs aren't a bad thing, but if you're somebody that's not going to really utilize stuff, maybe you want to look for a community where the HOA fees aren't that high. If you're paying $1,000, $1,200, even more per year, and you're not using the pool, you're not using the tennis court, the kids aren't using the playground, you're not, utilizing these parties, you're not going to the food trucks, when they have them, you're not going to any events in the community, it might not, be worth it for you. I live in a community that we do have a pool, but you have to get like a separate membership for it. And to me, it's not worth it. My parents have a pool in Mint Hill, so there's no reason. But you could be, you can rest assured if I'm paying the fees for the pool and things like that, I'm 100%, going to be utilizing it. So yeah, if you're somebody that's not going to utilize the pools and the amenities that some of these communities have, there's really no reason to be paying $1,000, $1,200, $1,500 a year or more if you're not going to utilize them, unless you just really love the community. These prices are still crazy regardless of the rate. Yeah, it all depends. We have so many people moving from higher price cities. We have so many people, California, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Chicago, like all these other places, even, Texas, Denver, things like that. We have so many people moving from these higher price cities where the cost of living is higher, the real estate is higher. When people come here, they're just like, oh, I can afford a bigger house, or I can buy a similar home that I had and save a bunch of money after selling their current home. So, those people that are moving here from those higher priced cities, they look at real estate different because it's not what they're used to. And that is a contributing factor to the prices, jumping up. I work mainly with people that are relocating from other states. That's kind of what I do. So I hear all the stories as far as we go look at a house. We talked about Waxhaw earlier. We go look at a house in Waxhaw, and they're like, oh my God, this house in Chicago would be $1.5 million, but here I can get it for $900,000. So it's a big discrepancy. I have family in Canada, and we all know that the prices in Canada are absolutely ridiculous. And my cousin and I, every time we have a conversation, he's like, man, I can't buy my first home. I can't afford it. It's so expensive here. Then he'll ask me about the prices here, and he always jokes, oh, I need to move to Charlotte. I need to move to Charlotte. But, the wages and things like that will obviously play a big factor. Wages are going to be a lot higher in California and New York versus here, depending on your position and your job. And, we've also had a lot of people that relocated from these other cities and states that still keep their same pay, and they're able to work here remotely. you know. So it's pretty interesting. But yeah, it's all I guess it's all subjective. Three Monkeys, are you hearing from sellers? We need some inventory, some pathetic choices out there. Yeah, so I'm currently I'm meeting with the seller here this Saturday. We're going to be listing their house. But yeah, I have right now I currently have 3 houses in the works that are going to be hitting the market in the next couple of months. Most likely springtime, one of these might be up here soon. But yeah, things are moving. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, these last 2 weeks, and even if you go on Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, Compass.com, any of these websites, if you start mapping out some of these areas and start looking, you're gonna see a lot more, coming soon listings, which means, hey, this house is going to be on the market in the next week to 2 weeks, depending on the situation. So it's heating up. We're gonna see some more inventory hit. Don't think it's gonna be a huge jump in inventory, but I think we're gonna be at relatively decent levels where you'll have some decent options to choose from. Danny P on my Indian Land video. I totally love Indian Land. Indian Land is a great option. Location wise, with it just being outside of Ballantyne and just outside of Waxhaw, you can see the reason why it's been growing such a crazy amount. It is a very good option, especially if you're not kind of stuck to, hey, I really want to stay in North Carolina. If you're open to South Carolina, any of the areas being just over there on that border, Indian Land, Fort Mill, Tega Cay, Rock Hill, a lot of the places in Lancaster County and things like that, you're so close to the North Carolina border, which might not be important to you, but a lot of people like it because they like having Center City, Uptown Charlotte nearby, or just a small drive away if they want to go to any major sporting events or anything like that. And Uptown Charlotte, just like any major city, normally it's a selling point. People just naturally kind of gravitate towards those areas, and as you gravitate closer to like the inner city, the real estate prices tend to go up in most areas. So it's with you just being outside of there, it's South Carolina, Indian Land is great. And I said an alternative option. I think it could be a primary option, for a lot of people. South Carolina offers a lot of great stuff. A little bit lower as far as the property taxes go. You get a little bit more bang for your buck. The schools, from the people that I've worked with, they say the schools are great. And I mean, it's a great area. It's not an alternative option. It should definitely be on the list of potential options for you to, want to take a look at. Enzo the Picker, what is comparable option to Waxhaw with better pricing? Can be South Carolina also, like Waxhaw, just need... Enzo, I don't know if you just caught what I just said, but Indian Land. Indian Land is a great option. So Indian Land essentially runs all along kind of Waxhaw, the Ballantyne area over there. So Indian Land is a great option. Indian Land, Fort Mill, Tega Cay, they're going to be a little bit more price friendly. Now, because of a lot of people moving to those areas, obviously the prices and things like that have gone up. But if you're, comparing North Carolina, South Carolina, just being right across the border, you'll get a little bit more bang for your buck in Indian Land, in Fort Mill, in Rock Hill than you would in North Carolina. It's just naturally like that. People tend to like it as well because a lot of, not all obviously, but a good amount of the real estate, a good amount of the communities that are being built up, they're all newer homes. So you got a lot of nice newer construction communities over there at good prices. And if you're looking at houses maybe built in the early 2000s, even in the 1990s, there's also a lot of communities for you to choose from. So yeah, Indian Land, Fort Mill, Rock Hill, Tega Cay, love those areas. I definitely think they're a good option. We got 7 people on here, guys. Do me a favor, hit the like button and drop any and all questions that you have here. Enzo Ferrari, I appreciate that question, my friend. Anything else, just let me know, but I hope that kind of answers it for you. If you want to reach out to me directly or anything like that, as far as nailing down maybe certain neighborhoods, or if you want to talk about price point or something like that, I'll definitely be open to answer any question I can for you. Well, this is This is along the same lines, of Indian land. Way too crowded in, Christine said, way too crowded in Indian land. You can't drive on 521 without always hitting major traffic. It never takes 5 or 10 minutes to go anywhere. Trust me, I hit traffic every day, no matter what time of day. But from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. and 3 to 7, it's awful. Now a Costco is coming that will make it even worse. So yeah, listen, I for the longest time, I moved here from Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, I had no traffic whatsoever. So when I came to Charlotte, it was an adjustment. Charlotte is, in general, cost of living is more expensive than Cleveland, Ohio. There's a lot more people. There's more traffic here. So for me, it was that type of an adjustment. But after I adjusted, I always knew, based off when I first moved here, it's like, hey, if I hop in my car, I'm driving for 10 to 15 minutes minimum. And I was living in Matthews at the time, not like in downtown Matthews, like right around the surrounding area of Matthews. And yeah, it's just something I had to kind of come to grips with. When I hop in my car, I have to drive 10 to 15 minutes to get anywhere. But I got used to it, and I never really, thought about the traffic. The traffic was just congestion to me. I was like, oh, okay, it's only going to take me an extra 5 minutes. That's not a problem. But in the last year, I have noticed a drastic change. Now we're at the level, of traffic. It's not the level of traffic as New York or California or Atlanta or something like that. But we do have the traffic now. Now when people ask me about it, I still say it's always going to vary on where you're moving to Charlotte from, but we're at that level where, yeah, we have traffic. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, normally, depending on what time of day, I'm always just typing in my destination in Google just to see, is there an accident? Schools is another thing that you need to really watch out for, because once they start letting schools out, and here in North Carolina, it's super weird. Some school will get out at 1:30, this one gets out at 2:15, this one gets out at 2:45, this one gets out at 3:30. You just don't know. And then schools have events, they have soccer games, football games, lacrosse games, all this stuff going on, and you just don't know. So I just made it a habit of every time I hop in my car, putting in the destination in Google Maps and just making sure I'm not going to be hitting any heavy traffic and seeing if I can take any other routes, which luckily most of the places I drive, there's a ton of alternate, that's what I'm trying to say, a ton of alternate routes. So it's not bad, but yeah, I mean, in the last year, I think we've gone from, congestion to maybe heavily congested. It's, again, it all depends on your definition of what, super high traffic or something like that is. And yeah, Costco, I don't shop at Costco, but funny enough, it's a question I get often. Hey, is there a Costco around this area? Is there a Costco around this area? And now that they're building the Costco in Indian Land, you can rest assured there's going to be a little bit more traffic, And unfortunately, the way Charlotte's growing, or the way the surrounding areas of Charlotte, the Charlotte Metro, has been growing, you're gonna have a lot more traffic. Near my house, there's some zoning petitions going on. They're looking to build an apartment complex. It's gonna have probably 200 to 300 units. And I mean, I'm not gonna say think about it, one car per unit, that's an extra 200 to 300 cars on the road in that little area. So of course the traffic and things like that are gonna go up. And yeah, thank Costco, for opening. But it is what it is. We can't control it. What do you think about Harrisburg? Harrisburg, I really like it. Harrisburg, as far as its location, I think it's very ideal. You're just outside of 485. You have Rocky River Road right there. So depending on kind of the commute that you need, I think Harrisburg is a really good option. And Harrisburg, I'm not gonna compare it to Waxhaw, but I will say some of the people that I've worked with that are looking in Harrisburg, usually one of the top 3 criteria is schools. So, Harrisburg has relatively good schools. So if you're somebody that wants to be in like a smaller suburb, which is going to be Harrisburg, an area that is really located good because of the easy 485 access and a lot of the growth that's happening over there, I think Harrisburg is a great option. I remember when I first got started in real estate, 2018, 2019, when I was looking at Harrisburg, you could find like a really nice brick house, 2,500 square feet, 2-car garage, built like in the early 2000s for like 300 to 350,000. Now you're looking at, 600, 650 plus, almost for that same home, which is pretty interesting. Paul, what do you think about Concord? I like Concord. Concord, located right next to Harrisburg. The thing that, sometimes when I get questions from people that live out of state and things like that, Concord is such a big area. You have the area of Concord where it's a little bit more congested, where you have a lot more activity, a lot more shopping, restaurants, and things like that happening in Concord. And then you have an area of Concord which is farmland. You see cows, you see horses, you see people that have 5, 10, 15, 20 acres and things like that. But all in all, I like Concord. Concord is an area that's seeing a ton of growth. The city itself is investing a lot of money into parks, more things to do. And Concord's one of those areas that, depending on where you are, I normally tell people, if you still want to have like everything, which is like the Concord Mills Mall area, all the shopping you could possibly think of, all the dining you could possibly think of, the things to do. If you want to have all that, stay within a 10 to 15, maybe even a 20-minute drive of the Concord Mills Mall area. And based off what I've seen in the Concord area, the prices, are relatively good. There's some new construction that's being kind of built up over there, from single-family homes to townhomes. That could be a great option for you. So Paul, I like Concord. I think it's going to continue to grow. You're seeing places like Troutman, places like Statesville that are kind of like exploding, and people are just going further and further out for the affordability. But the areas like Concord and things like that, they're going to be in a little bit more demand because you're closer to the city, and there's still so much room for development. I don't know if it's passed yet. It's been a little while since I looked, but Red Bull was supposed to open up I can't remember, I'm not going to say its headquarters, but Red Bull's, they were going to open up like a manufacturing area in Concord, which was supposed to bring, a lot more jobs to the area. And, you have Lowe's headquarters, which is in Mooresville. So you have a lot of people that work for Lowe's. They live in Concord because Concord's going to be a little bit, more attainable as far as your real estate than like a Mooresville would be. Hey, Sasha, someone I know bought a second home here in North Carolina because that friend was still working in another state. Now my friend transferred here. Comparing to the present interest rate, my friend has a good one. What to do? I don't really understand the question, but I will say whatever interest rate your friend got a couple years ago, it's over. Don't compare. It's tough. Try not to. Don't compare someone's interest rate that bought 2-3 years ago versus what it is today. Don't compare the real estate price somebody bought 2-3 years ago to what it is today. The market changes, and that's just kind of the market we're in. So if you get caught up on that, you'll end up never making a decision, not just in regards to real estate, but you just won't make a decision on anything. A little bit dramatic, but I wish I would have bought Netflix when it was, less than $1 a stock. Now it's a couple $100. We can't look at things like that. Sorry to say. Potato, I like that name. When do you think the best time to sell a house? Mine is located in Matthews. So good thing is Matthews is a highly desirable area. In the beginning of the video, I was mentioning I had gone and looked at a lot of homes in the South Charlotte area near Matthews and things like that, between 700 to 1.1 million, and they were moving fast. Obviously, if you have a nice home right now in Matthews, move-in ready, Matthews is a desirable location, you probably wouldn't have a problem selling it right now if you put it on the market this weekend. However, I read an article, and they said in the article they were taking stats from like the last 10 years of like the best time to sell a home, and they were saying April 20th. They were saying around April 20th is like the best time, like right before kind of that spring market hits. For some reason, based off the data that they had for like the last 10 years, that was kind of the time frame. Like the end of April was the time frame that they saw sellers usually net the most amount of money. But to be honest with you, if you list it right now, you'll most likely be able to, have I'm not going to say an easy time selling it, because I don't know your house, I don't know the neighborhood or anything like that. But things are moving. But yeah, I mean, March, April, May, June, July, August. Those are like usually the hottest months. Summertime, which sometimes people don't think about, but a lot of people tend to wait until summertime, which is totally fine, because you do have a lot more buyers coming because the kids don't have school. They have, whatever it is, 2.5 months to move freely and move in and things like that prior to the next school year starting. However, if you list a house in your neighborhood, for example, and then, a lot more houses come to market, there's a good chance other houses in your neighborhood might get listed as well. Sometimes it's better to be the only house, or one of 2 houses or one of 3 houses for sale in a neighborhood than it is to be one of 5, 6, 7, because then the potential buyer can come and say, well, hey, this house is priced at $550. Why are you priced at $575? It looks relatively similar. I'll give you what they want, or whatever the case is. But again, there's the perfect time is when you're going to be ready. But yeah, April, May, towards the end of March 22nd is springtime. So end of March, April, May, June, July, August is usually kind of like the hottest months as far as houses listing and the most buyers being available. But even if you want, feel free to send me an email. I can let you know how, on average, how quickly homes in your specific neighborhood or your specific zip code is, I'm assuming 28105. But I can let you know what the average timeline or median timeline is for houses in your neighborhood that take to sell. I have that data. So if you want to send me an email, feel free to. No obligation or anything like that to me. I don't mind helping you out with that. All right, guys. Well, I'm not getting any questions, but I really appreciate it. I will be uploading this live for you to have tomorrow. So Friday the 2nd, this live will be uploaded. As always, if there's anything I could ever do for you, any questions you have for me directly, all my contact information is going to be linked down below. Call, text, or email me anytime, and wish me luck. That house is coming to the market on Saturday that I'm personally interested in. So let's see what happens. Not this time, but maybe on my next live, I'll say I just bought a new house and maybe just closed on it, since maybe a 30-day closing. But we'll see. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Call, text, or